Hey everybody, welcome to another Piece of Ash. This is my weekly show where I talk wargaming, I chat with my patrons and with you guys folks on YouTube later on. And I also do some sort of like hobby talk. This time around, I'm going to be doing a bit of painting as well. And you can see I got a little picture-in-picture thing. I got a little flack last time for not having any, there we go, any actual painting in my, my building chat. So I figured I'd give it a try. This is like the most ghetto paint stream ever. So enjoy my ghetto paint stream. I'm literally just using my laptop's webcam by angling the screen down. So I can't actually see the chat when this is happening, but I'm gonna be working on some new Northkin for the Trollbloods for Privateer Presses, War Machine, and Hordes. And that means I'm gonna be working on these little guys, which are the bear handler and unit, which are pretty cool. It's polar bears. I've painted some stuff. If you watch my last on the paint table, I painted some stuff for the Northkin, which are like a new sort of sub-faction within the Trollkin this past week. And this is the last Northkin unit I have to paint. And I've actually painted up since then. You guys can get a little preview of the next week's, or this week's on the paint table. My other Northkin unit that I had painted, which is the Troll Brawler. This guy's pretty cool. He's basically a Dark Troll with like two giant like whippy chain things. And I painted a Dark Troll because you can't really play trolls without having a Dark Troll. So I got that other big heavy finished as well. Sorry, and actually one more thing. I painted a Rune Bear, who's a Warlock attachment. So I had, when Mark III first came out, Owen and I got the starter sets for, we got the two-player starter set, which had trolls and Scorn in it. So I painted up Ragnar Sky Splitter and his little battle group, and then War Machine kind of fell off for us. Like, we didn't play it a whole bunch for quite a while, and what that meant was I had a whole bunch of stuff waiting in the wings. And actually these two models, this Dark Troll and this Rune Bear, are Trollblood miniatures that Stephen Kemp sent me ages ago that I'm finally actually getting around to. So sorry it took so long, but I basically Company of Iron, and the fact that I'm actually jazzed about having Viking trolls as opposed to just like Scottish trolls has reinvigorated sort of like our playing War Machine. Well, actually Company of Iron more than anything else. The troll stuff got painted because of Company of Iron. But now I'm going to take it, and Owen's going to the OTC, which is the Ontario Team Championship, in the next few months. And so I figured I would paint some stuff to play some games with them so you can get some practice games in. So this is turning into a full-blown troll army. So I'm going to finish these guys. I have the bear handlers, and then I have a unit of what is it? The stone. You basically just can't play trolls without having the stone, the Krill Stone Bearer. So he's getting added as well, and I can play my first game with these guys this week, which will be a with the theme list, with the Northkin theme list. So jazzed about that. We're gonna take some questions from the mailbag from the chat. This is kind of a weird setup because I'm trying to do this painting thing. So I'm gonna be taking the chat questions on my iPad, which of course has 21% left on it. So that's great. We're doing great. And then of course my patrons are also like trickling in right now, so I'll be taking some questions from them in the chat as well. I'll be going back and forth between this view and then just like the full view. When I'm in the full view, it means I can actually tip my laptop up and see what the heck is going on and chat with people too. So hopefully this all works out. I'll say hi to the patrons real fast. I'll probably jump into a mailbag question because that means that I have something to talk about while I'm painting, and I'm gonna get painting or just base coat now. I just want to get base coats and washes done in the next hour on these duders so that I can go and jump in. And when I have to go get the girl, they're basically drying, and then tonight when I actually have a chance to sit down and finish them, their base coats and washes are all dry, and I can just pound at the highlights and be finished. My goal is I really want them to be done. I want to get the Krill Stone Bears done today too. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'd like it all to be finished, and then I can start working on Custodies this week, tomorrow, which will be my first day in the studio, because I plan on getting that army done this week too. So first question's from Harold of Slanish. Please don't let anyone know what Fulgrim's favorite color is. P.S. Your channel's perfection. Okay, I don't even, that's not really a question, so I'll try again. Alfarius says, what's Fulgrim's favorite color? Oh, I get it, it's a two-parter. All right, well, I don't know. Next one is Wargaming South Africa. I'm probably moving to Canada next year. Any advice? I don't know. Pick a good part of Canada, I guess. Like, Ontario's really expensive. BC's really expensive. The prairies are cold. The East Coast is friendly. That's really it. I don't know, these are wargaming questions. I'm bummed. Let's just keep going. Casa says, Corvus Belli just announced a new ITS challenge where certain characters may end up banned from ITS games, which is punishing some and less interesting and rewarding for a few. What do you think? Well, so first of all, the ITS season for Season 9 is almost over. Well, it's half done. So the fact that there's going to be like a Season 9 challenge halfway through the season, and like, let me just try this. I'm going to see if I can angle this down, then I'm going to go back. The fact that we're like halfway through the season means that it's not really that big a deal, I don't think, because you're not banning a character for the entire season. You're just banning them for a little bit. And so I don't really think it's a big deal. Like, I'm not worried about it. Certain characters like Joni or Wallace are a little bit more integral to their faction than others. So like, if you were to ban Joni for military orders, that would be a bigger deal, for instance, than banning Bipandra from Pan-Oceania. I don't think anybody's going to care if you ban Bipandra, because she's just straight up not really used in games. Whereas Joni is a bit of a, I don't want to say a staple, but she's really important to the build of the game, with her ability to have like inspiring leadership and just all the things she does when you play military orders. So I think it could be a big deal. I think the people that might cry the most are like Achilles players in Aleph, because if you're an Achilles player, you tend to really rely on him to get your work done. And it might just be a good thing for the meta because it forces people out of their comfort zones and to try new things. Like, I'm a big fan of that. Like, any character that's so prevalent that you see them get used all the time. I'm just going to do some dry brushing here on these bears just to get a little bit more. I airbrush them all beige. I'm just getting a little bit of beige dry brushing on them to kind of pop their fur before I start base coating. Yeah, whenever you see something become like so prevalent that it's around all the time, that to me is like a bad thing. You don't want anything to be used to the point where it becomes like an auto include, because that just means that they're not in scale with everything else you have, and that's a bad thing. There's a problem with this unit if it's too ubiquitous. This seems to be working okay. I can't really see the chat right now, unfortunately, so they're usually my warning if things have gone horribly wrong, and you can't really see what I'm doing. So I'm gonna try. I mean, it's literally just like a built-in laptop webcam, so I can't even remotely say what the quality of it's gonna be. But I'm just going in, like, literally, I'll add like precision highlights later on, but I'm just kind of messily putting a lighter beige dry brush. I used like an ivory color originally on these, and I'm just gonna try and get a lighter color in here. When I do colors that are models that are all light tone like this, I tend to start with a light tone and just do it all over, and then do the darker tone sort of on top of it, because it's much easier to cover a light color with a dark color when like you go to add like your metallics and your washes and your leather and stuff, than it would be to go the other way around and paint a light color over top of a dark color. So you can see I started off, these guys were all airbrushed golden high flow burnt umber over top of just like a black primer, and then I went in with the trolls and just did like a really rough airbrush of like their skin tone with what's that GW called? The Fang. The Fang is the GW color that I've been using for their skin, because it's just blue gray. I have a whole pile of privateer press paint somewhere, and I bet half of them probably aren't any good anymore because I haven't opened them probably since like 2004 or 2005. I have a whole mess of them. I just haven't even looked at them in ages. The only color I think I've still looked at is coal black, because I use coal black as a highlight for almost every black miniature because it's just a great color. If you don't own privateer press, coal black or lamp black, those two colors are absolutely dynamite for like a variety of things. But yeah, you can see here I'm just kind of like messily dry brushing all the fur just to keep it white, and I'll go in and start adding stuff later on. I didn't bother dry brushing like parts of this guy, so like you can see down here his boots and stuff. I'm just gonna hit now with the dry brush because I'll just go over top of them with brown later, and mostly because it would wreck the brown if I'd done it too much. But I'm not super worried about it. I'm just trying to get the tones on. But I do tend to go big colors to little colors when I paint. So like I start off with whatever the most common color in the model is and try and get that down, and then afterwards I'll go in and start doing other things. So there we go, so all that beige is done. I feel like I'm talking like Bob Ross right now. All that beige is done. Got our happy little beige finish. Let's keep going and see what's what. I'm gonna go, and now I'm gonna put some, oh no, I don't wanna do this first. Yeah, I do. I'm gonna use some, what is this called? Scale 75 black metal. It's an awesome color. If you haven't used it before, it's like, the thing I compare it to is something that most of you guys wouldn't know about though, which is really, really old 80s bolt gun metal. You can see I've used this so much, there's not a lot left, so it's having a hard time coming out. Old 80s bolt gun metal was this like blue, like blued gunmetal basically. This really, really dark color. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go and paint all the armor plates this color for the most part. Oh, do I wanna do all the armor plates this color? No. I wanna do the armor plates in these guys bronze, I think. So I'm gonna paint all the little gewgaws instead. I'm gonna paint all the little like links and stuff this color, because I think most of my trolls so far have bronze armor. I can't remember the name of the bronze I'm using. It's a GW bronze, but it's a cool color. I'm gonna check in with the chat while I do this. You guys don't need to watch me. You've seen the important thing is what paint color I'm using. Where am I putting it? Let me just go see what's going on with the chat. What's going on with the chat, y'all? Check this thing up. Chat's chatting. So Randy St. Denis here, S. Monsters here, Rick Alves is here, Anthony Lee. I've realized I'm really enjoying painting chats with YouTubers. Well, now people are actually watching me paint. Randy St. Denis says, yeah, they're good times. I just wish there were these were when I could hobby and not just listen while I'm working. Yeah, unfortunately, these will never be probably during off hours, because like my wife's home, my kids are home, and we're all together. I don't have time to do this. And at night, I'm trying to actually get projects finished. And while this is fun, it's not super conductive for me getting projects finished, because I'm so busy answering questions and being in the chat and then like listening for the boy and making sure he's not out of bed or running around, that I don't just like get in the zone and paint the way I need to get things done. To paint a troll army in 7 days, which is what I'm trying to do right now. What else we have? This Monster says, yeah, I have blisters in my army box of Grimkin and they're waiting for me. Mike Grimshaw says, hey, I made it. Hey, Mike Grimshaw, you did make it. Anthony says, this has been one of the only positive aspects of my unemployment, is being able to sit and paint while I'm doing live shows. That's funny. Wow, I'm proud of you, Anthony. That's a good outlook. That's a good silver lining. I always gotta look at the bright side of life. Like they say in that English comedy from the 70s and 80s. Gotta look on the bright side. Torben Gasberg says, whoa, 2 cameras, lights, surprise action. Have you sold out to the man, Ash? No. I got like, I think it was mostly somebody who's having a bad day, but I got told like, you gotta show stuff when you're building stuff. So I figured I would give this a try. Ash is so much less stressed and chill. No difference between Ash's painting chats and his building chats. I'm so much less stressed. It's true. I'm not trying to figure stuff out, which is funny. Because yeah, you're right. I do tend to do badly with with building chats. Building chats are not the best. Because in building chats, I got all kinds of stuff going on that I'm trying to do, like follow instructions and lose pieces and clean pieces and scrape mold lines. And of course, the way that you light a YouTube video isn't necessarily the way that you would light doing hobby stuff. So the light here is not the best. I've got lights shining in my face as opposed to on my model because of the way this is done. And so like, it's not that I can't see the miniature, but I'm certainly not able to see the miniature as well as when I've got like my aught light, like daylight bulb hanging out over top of it, and it's like perfectly lit up, and I can scrape every mold line. That and like, I'm used to not being the one talking when I'm doing hobby stuff. I like to be the one listening when I'm doing hobby stuff. This is why I do so many movies and TV shows. That's why I'm doing, I try and find TV series to watch when I'm painting. So like right now I'm watching Last Man on Earth, which I never gave it's funny, it's in its 3rd season, and it was on TV in Canada. Like, it's not like I couldn't have watched it, like it was just one of those things that hadn't come to Canada from the US yet. But I just never really gave it a shot, and I'm sad I didn't give it a shot, because it is awesome. Like, it's so, like, they're just bad people, and I kind of love that. The last few people to like survive like a terrible, terrible virus that wipes out like 99.9% of people on Earth are just like awful people, and it's great. What they get up to is just great. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Definitely worth a watch if you want some like dark comedy that's just about a terrible person continuously being terrible, as you would when you've got nothing to stop you, basically. So there we go. So all the basic metallics are done. This isn't like an important paint stage. This is a get stuff done paint stage. Rune Lord Brass, that's what I'm using for all my armor plates right now. And I'm actually verdigreeing all of it, so I'm giving it like a wash of like a green wash. So right now I'm thinning down, I usually make my own, but right now I'm thinning down, what's it called? Oh, the GW one, Nicolite Oxide, I think it's called. But I do that after I do like a bit of a brown wash. So I do like a thin down brown wash, and then a bit of this. And it gives like a nice Bronze Age kind of thing. Because you got to figure like these trolls aren't necessarily able to they're not the dwarves, they're not Ruliks, they're not doing as much mining as they could be. They're probably trading for all their metal. And they're not the richest communities either, because they're all like subsistence living tribes. So a lot of their armor might be made out of bronze or softer, cheaper metals. Yes, I sometimes overthink my miniature painting. Like in this case where that happens. But you can see here, this is why I do the fur and stuff first, because I can just put the metallics over top, and then the washes will sort of separate all those colors by darkening them down and giving some contrast in between them. And it's just made it like super fast to paint these guys, which is nice. And the last step I'll probably do on painting these guys is I'll throw just some thin down dryad bark on the sand on the base, because one of the things I hate is waiting for basing material to dry. So whenever I'm waiting for something else to dry, I typically do the painting on the grit that's on the base, because right now it was just glued down when I built them, and then I airbrushed everything. And once it was airbrushed, it took on whatever colors I was airbrushing it, so it's not really a uniform brown right now, because I've been keeping the base with these guys pretty simple. I'm not putting them on big crazy stuff. I do love these bear miniatures though, man. They're so cool. There's a Warcaster for the Trollbloods who's on a bear, Borka Kegslayer. I think it's the second version and the epic version. Although they don't really have those names now, because it used to be regular, epic, legendary, or whatever. Now it's just like Borka 2. He's riding a giant bear, and he's pretty cool. Riding a giant bear, being a bear man, being a bear caster. Let's see what the chat's saying. Chat's saying, boop-a-doo-doo. Randy Symphony says you need to work on the angle for the painting view. Yeah, well, that's more the fact that like I can't even see my own hands when I'm doing this, right? Because I'm just using the top of my laptop. James Tilly says, aha, I found my way here. I've done that style of video for painting once. It's not ideal. I doubt it is. Torben says, I can totally relate to disliking building models, especially GW's new plastic models. These days, the days where when you could put together with the instructions, yeah, that's long gone. That's so true. I have like a complete reluctance these days to YOLO building miniatures, because they sometimes go together in such specific ways that like I'm not able to follow along now. It's especially Space Marines. Like there was a day when you could build Space Marines barely looking at them, because they all had like a universal fit system, right? And the idea was they could all share parts. But with these like monopose Space Marine characters now, that's just not the case. Like they're designed to all just build one way. And because the cuts are being done on computers, not by people, they're not being cut to like scale down in a CNC machine. They're being cut, you know, to maximize the space on a frame and stuff like that. And it's just like you look at it and you're like, what? How does this go together? But once you have the instructions, it's usually super simple. But it's not like you can just kind of like, I guess, go by the seat of your pants and hope that you get it right, because you might not, or you might put something on and the glue sets, and then you just can't come back to where you're supposed to be. Randy Anthony, yeah, I don't envy Ash trying to keep the model in view while doing this, and all of us are like, we can't see you drive, bro, show us. Yeah, that's why I'm so confused about this. I don't know why. The no instruction challenge. I love kits with a bunch of parts. So I'm trying to read this. Ben Grandpa Panergal says, I love assembling infinity miniatures is driving me nuts. Yeah, you and everybody else. That's another example of of miniatures that are designed on a computer. They're typically not bad though, because they're typically just like arms and legs and things, but they are very fiddly because they're metallic and they're metal and they're small. You do want to do a lot of pinning. So if you don't like pinning when you're building infinity miniatures, although honestly some of the newer ones I've been getting, I think I said this in a previous video, I was building some of them, they have really specific like wonderful peg systems that are, they're like square or hexagonal pegs, so that you don't need to pin. Like you can put them together and you specifically do not need to pin them because they're being put so like nicely. Let me just angle this up a little bit more. You guys can see a little bit better. I'm trying to get this right. This is a very unnatural way to paint for me. Like I'm not used to like hunched over a camera like this. The problem is when I do this, if I hunch over, I'm looking at this so closely, I think I drop out a view of the other camera frame. But whatever, this is just an experiment. This is just to see if I could do this and you guys wouldn't hate it. And I'm also trying to like hold the miniature so you can like see what I'm painting, and like, I don't know why people do this. This is terrible. To all you painters on YouTube, I have respect for you because this is awful. Like I wouldn't want to do this. I wouldn't want this to be the thing that I do all the time, because you're holding your miniatures at like a completely unnatural angle, unless you have like an over shoulder camera, but like I need a second capture card to do that, and you need to go buy another Blackmagic. And I have to get a USB one because my Thunderbolt port's used up by this one. So while I have the second camera, the problem is the inputs that you use on a capture card. You need a very specific capture card to get a high quality camera to capture, not just use a webcam. I could go buy a cheapo webcam, but then it's not really much better than what I'm doing now. And so it's like, what's the point? Oh, bears in armor. You just make me happy. There's nothing about this that's bad. And they paint up super quick too. So throwing down the bronze. And then once all this bronze is done, like I said, I'm gonna throw some washes on it. And I'm kind of, maybe I can almost see the chat. If I just move this window over a little bit, there we go. Maybe I can see it. No, people are just talking about assembling Infinity miniatures. Mike Fewling's here saying, hey. Hey there, Mike. Hope everything's going good. Mike Grimshaw says, if you stare at the models, how can we see your captivating eyes? See, everything about this is bad. I don't know why I'm even doing this. It's ruining my whole mojo. You can't see the miniature. I'm now looking down at the miniature. It's like, why even bother? Who even knows? Why do people even do this? To watch me paint bears. Well, we're almost through the bear armor, and that's a good thing. We got, what's that line from Mars Attacks? We got 3 out of 5 arms of the government left, and that ain't bad. Oh, man. Speaking of Mars Attacks, if you guys want to check out some really cool lowbrow style art, go check out my buddy Rich Sampson. He's Nerdgore on Instagram. He just finished his skateboard for Santa Cruz. He got picked for the Santa Cruz skateboard painting challenge, and the theme was Mars Attacks, and it's awesome. Like, it's so cool, and he based it like on an old Mars Attacks trading card. Super cool. If you're into that like lowbrow punk rock style, 80s California style art, he did my t-shirt, my GMG like collage t-shirt, the montage one. Just an awesome artist, and he just finished his skateboard that he got commissioned by Santa Cruz to do for like I don't know, it was a contest or it was for something. It's an original deck basically with original like artwork on it, and the theme was Mars Attacks, and he just crushed it. It looks so cool. Even if it's a tiny little modern skateboard that I don't know why people ride on tiny skateboards. Doesn't feel like surfing when you're riding on tiny skateboards. My children will not ride tiny skateboards. Well, they might when they're small, but that's just a matter of scale. All right, bear armor. The second is just about finished. I've added a little bit of water to this just to like get it to flow better. So I'm gonna go highlight it again afterwards, so I'm not super worried about the bronze being a little bit thin. It is taking a little bit longer to dry though. So I'm having to be careful. Again, because I'm spinning this around so you guys can see it, I keep rubbing up against it with my back of my hand here and smudging it. So I'm just checking there's no fingerprints on any of these when I'm done. There's a lot of engraving on this too, so I'm watering my paint down just to make sure that it flows into the engraving, gets around the corners and stuff. But again, the washes are just gonna hide all that once it's all dry. And this little guy, this is Mr. Bearman handler, Mr. Friends with Bears. I don't know why they're friends with him. He's wearing one of their friends on his back. Like, you know, like if I was a bear and I saw someone wearing a bear, I'd be like, that guy's not my buddy. Why would I hang out with that guy? So I'm just gonna go through and try and find all the metallic bits that I want to do with this, because he's got some of the little symbol-y things, the little Trollblood gewgaws. They look like, I don't know if they're supposed to be stones, but they're like inscribed with runes. I'm painting them metal. I'm not painting them rock. because that would take way more time. I could do them one color as opposed to a bunch of colors. And in this case, I'm going to do them one color. And I think that's all just... He's mostly in leather. There's not like piles of metal on this guy. Is the back of the one hand. So the one hand's like totally wrapped in leather. The other one's wrapped in like bronze and stuff. So this one's going to get the bronze treatment. And this axe head has there's the blade, and then there's like a haft that's made out of bronze as well. It's all engraved, so I'm gonna do that in bronze. And we'll call the job a good one. Randy St. Denis says, so Ash, you didn't go to the LVO because it's not your jams, or because it doesn't have as much focus on hobby stuff versus tournaments, or you just don't want to travel to all the conventions? It's all three of those things, really. It's not my jam because it's mostly just tournaments, and I'm like, that bores me. Like, I have no real interest in that. Two, like, there's not a lot of indie stuff there. It's all just mainstream games, because there's no point in there being indie stuff there really for them. They mostly just are trying to sell tickets to people to go to Las Vegas and play games. So you're going to attract the most people by doing mainstream games, since they mostly just do mainstream games. And three, I don't really like Las Vegas. I get so, like, I spend a lot of time there with work. We used to run, like, a lot of like sales meetings and stuff in Las Vegas, just because Las Vegas in the US is like the cheapest place to fly like 100 people, put them up in a hotel, and get them all to do something. Like, so if you want to like feed water and fly a bunch of people, all of the like airlines and hotels typically do like package deals, and they have like all kinds of not kickbacks, but sort of like subsidies for that stuff. So we end up using it a lot, and I just hate the city being hot and boring and dry and like nothing to do outside of like drinking and whoring, basically. So it doesn't do it for me. It's just not my jam. I understand why people go to Las Vegas. I just would never willingly go there unless I was, you know, going for work and being paid to, basically. Looks like it was a lot of fun though. A lot of companies showed up. It's clearly becoming like the tournament that companies go to, because it has the natural draw of like for young guys, you know, and people that want to go party in Las Vegas. Hey, like a tournament, and also you can party and go eat In-N-Out Burger and, you know, like go gamble and smoke inside and all those things you can still do in Las Vegas that you can't do anywhere else. Like smoke inside, like that alone would just like turn me off. Like I'd walk into a a hotel where they're smoking inside. I'd just be like, I'd be totally just, no thanks. And that's coming from a guy who, I mean, listen to me, I'm clearly an ex-smoker, and I sound like a smoker, but there's no guy that is more turned off by smoking than someone that used to smoke. It just grosses me out now. I can't even be around cigarette smoke for the most part. It just drives me nuts. And now I have the problem where I have to try and find paints. I'm pretty sure, there it is. It was hiding at the back end of something. Trying to find the right paint for the next step, and that is the leather. I'm using Mornfang Brown. It's a good just like base. If you're gonna, I find if you're gonna use a lot of washes on your color, go like a stage lighter than you normally would. And I've already got a dark stage down here because I've already got the burnt umber down. So I'm just gonna go through and do all the straps, all the leather straps that are like holding these guys' armor together in this leather, and then when they get washed, like Agrax, then that wash will like darken them down a stage, and I can go right back in with just pure Mornfang and highlight them again. So I tend to do everything like a stage up that it normally will be if I'm using washes, and because I'm doing an army paint here, like I'm not trying to paint these guys one at a time really nicely, I'm just going with the path of least resistance. Path of least resistance being fast and easy, and do it while asleep and or chatting with patrons. Randy Sandy says, I think that it's just the big 40k tournaments. The Infinity Malifaux Kings of War tournaments are all mostly civilized. I don't know what that means. I missed part of the chat now, and I'm like down. I'm going to try and do this without moving this. Anthony says, lots of drama coming out of the LVO this year. I didn't know about that. Or maybe it's just that it was highly publicized on Twitch. Wildly bad sportsmanship. I don't like 40k, and even I heard about it, says Ben. I used to be active in the 40k tournament scene, and from my experience, the very competitive tournaments always skew more towards being toxic. It's exhausting. I think it's just the big 40k tournaments, the Infinity Malifaux Kings War ones all seem to be civilized. But it looks like it's getting resolved. That's cool. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Sounds like something happened. Who knows? Like I said, because I have like almost zero interest in that, I haven't been paying attention to it. The most exciting thing that came of the LVO for me was little mini nights for 40k, and that's just because Pete's there doing Pete things. Pete Foley, the world's most secret Canadian that people don't know is Canadian. But he's Canadian. Everybody should know Pete's Canadian. He did a new release seminar for GW, and those little mini nights got shown. The Armitage Warglaves. Wasn't Armitage an anime about robots from like the 80s and 90s? I can't remember. Sounds like something that I've probably forgotten that might be true, or I might just be making up on this stream because I don't really know. Anthony says there's a charity being set up in somebody's name as a way of fixing things out of drama at a tournament. That's bizarre, man. I'm gonna have to look this up. If somebody's got a link, post it in the chat. I don't even know if you can post links, but this sounds like it's juicy drama now. Not that I care. But people be chatting about it. Chat's getting all crazy. Oh, something happened live. Okay, so that's why it's being overly dramatized. Something happened live. When people catch something happening as it's happening, and like, you know, it either gets let go or whatever, then all kinds of like theorizing happens and blah blah blah. This happened at the World Team Championship for War Machine a couple years ago. There was this. There's even a meme actually. I bet if you Google Finger of Doom War Machine, you might even be able to find it. And whether it was intentional or not, some guy's playing on camera at like the top tables at that big War Machine World Team Championship, and you watch this stream where like there's a model that's not quite touching a zone, and then like the guy like straightens his finger, and like the model clearly like gets nudged into the zone basically. And it might entirely just been unintentional. Like we weren't there. We watched it on a stream, so like we're not gonna know. I just realized I missed a spot with this bronze. So I'm quickly cleaning my brush and dabbing some bronze on one of these things. Yeah, the internet drama was super high on that too, and then like everything else, it like dissipated in like 48 hours. But it was all world ending and people throwing all kinds of accusations. And I honestly think the reaction's often worse than the thing. Right? It's like I said, it's the same thing that happens when I put stuff on camera. You know what I mean? Like you got to play as clean as you can, because if something's on camera and people are watching, they're gonna catch the mistakes you make, and they might be mistakes that you make either never or all the time. But when you make a mistake on camera, there's no one's there to know how you and your opponent feel, or you know, like how friendly you are about resolving it or whatever. Everybody kind of throws in their hat and their 2 cents and tries to resolve it however they want to resolve it. Randy Sandy says, "Oh yes, and Lady Snake Elves got announced. Yes, they look super cool. The Marathi elves. Marathi's whole jam being that she was almost eaten by Slaanesh. So Marathi in the Warhammer background, if you guys don't know, is Malekith's mom, and she's basically like the leader of all the witch elves in the old Warhammer world. And so she's kind of been gone, but like a lot of the old special characters from the world that was, which is like the old Warhammer world." She's kind of become like a demigod, right? So just like Alariel's kind of become a demigod, and we're all pretty sure that Felix Jagger is the Lord Celestant Prime, or at least I am. That's the theory I like. These people get like special characters later on. So Marathi's now kind of got her jam, her and her Snake Lady Witch Elves. And I like that they're order. Like, I like that order doesn't mean good guys. Order means whoever. Because, like, now you've got these, like, Naga ladies that will eat your skin as part of the Order army, hanging out with the Stormcast Eternals. So the Stormcast, it's kind of like the Inquisition in 40k, right? Like, they're not really good guys by any stretch of the imagination. We wouldn't, if you met a bunch of them and talked about how their day at the office was, when they explained what they were doing, they probably wouldn't be people that you'd be like, oh, cool, that sounds fun. That sounds like you did some things that were good for people. So yeah, so I'm pretty jazzed about that, because like it's a faction of like crazy witch elf snake ladies that could also join like my Stormcast. So there you go, Bearman 1. Had all those leather straps on. Actually, I'm just gonna double check because I think he did. I'm like 99% sure that I just painted all the straps. Yes, I did, and we're good. These are gonna be so easy to paint. Oh my god! And now we go on to bear number 2. It's unbearable. I've now watered down this Mornfang brown too much, and I require extra Mornfang brown in it. What else we got? No, can't link in the chat. Oh well. I guess that they're the reason why we won't see any new Death Guard models this cycle for Age of Sigmar, or new Death models this cycle for Age of Sigmar. I think you're going to see lots of new Death models probably for the campaigny thing, the whole like Hell Comes to Frogtown that's happening with Nagash. I just made a Hell Comes to Frogtown reference. I don't think anybody's going to get that. Ah, some of you might. Who knows? But yeah, no. You're at least getting that new battle tome for Death because whatchamacallit, the new Nagash plotline is all kicking off, which should be cool. I'm hoping they tie it to Shadespire because I think right now one of the coolest narratives in Age of Sigmar is the Shadespire narrative of just like what's going on with the Stormcast there and what Nagash isn't telling Sigmar about like what he taught him about reforging and how all of his Stormcast are slowly forgetting who they are and going insane. That's like, it's just a compelling story. Like, it's a cool story, and it totally fits like the mythos of this new Warhammer where like gods and mortals all walk together. Because that's the thing that I really like about the new sort of like setting for Warhammer is that your gods talk, right? The gods aren't the wills of the gods aren't unknown anymore. The gods all have agendas and they fight. They're kind of like the Egyptian gods. Like, if I could say what the current sort of like climate of Warhammer is modeled after, it feels like either the ancient Greek gods or the ancient Egyptian gods, where like they have a real impact on the world around them. You know what I mean? Like they're talking to people and like they visit people and stuff. They're not just these like high on a pedestal silent gods. They're gods that are taking like an active role in the development of the world. I think that's super cool. Somebody just asked what kind of brush I'm using. I'm using a Winsor Newton Series 7.0, which I use for all of my like my sort of like fine base coating. I use a really beat up base coat brush from GW for my actual base coating. For like my big stuff base coating. I'm just getting all of this tacked down right now, trying to get all of these done. I'm going to check the actual window and see how this looks because I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, no, you can still see them. We're in good shape. People can see what I'm painting. I'm trying to figure out where I have to keep my hand when I can't see the screen. You guys can actually see what I'm painting, or at least see the model roughly, or see where I'm painting. And I'm also like tilting everything a little bit towards the computer so you can at least see where my brush is landing and what I'm base coating. This is the kind of model, it's funny because people have been talking a lot about like model grippers with me lately and asking me about like, do I like ones or one I like. My favorite one actually is the one that Chris Bello made and had cast in resin, Chris from Mini Wargaming. And it's just a big chunk of resin with like a knurl to it. So like you can grip it nicely, because models like this, you couldn't put on a mini grip. Like there's no way that like you could paint this in the GW mini grip and actually like get to all the spots. Like it's just way easier to actually be holding it in your hand than to stick it on some kind of handle. There are times where I love having a handle if the model's like really flimsy, but for a model like this is just way easier. And like when I was painting these trolls yesterday, like this guy right here, there's no way I could put him on a, like this just wouldn't work. Like, my only problem with that was I kept rubbing the paint off his little mohawk here with my hands because I was handling it too much. And I found myself having to like try and spin my grip so I wasn't touching the mohawk on the back. Same with the brawler. I ended up touching it quite a bit. But these bears are like big balls of fur, and sticking them on a mini grip, I wouldn't be able to get to like half these recesses. These are really nice models though, I have to say. As far as like the war bear gaming market goes, for guys that want to buy war bear miniatures for all your war bear gaming needs, these ones are great. They're really nicely sculpted. They got a lot of character, but they're not too over the top. You know what I mean? Like if you wanted to use them in some other setting that wasn't War Machine Hordes, they're not particularly like tied to the setting. They're just like cool bears in armor. I don't know what other game you'd use them in. Maybe some kind of World War II Super Science game. Just trying to get to like under his paw. There's a strap, and there's no really good way to get to it. So I'm just going underneath him. It's literally something no one's ever gonna see, so I'm never gonna highlight it probably, but I will at least base coat it and throw a wash on it so that it's not the same color. There we go. I think that's it for him. And then a lot more leather on Johnny Axeman here. But luckily, I've thinned down my paint too much again, so let's go grab some more paint. What's chat saying? Torben Kasperberg got the Hell Comes to Frogtown reference. Excellent. What else we have? New Death stuff's announced there too next week for the new Death book. They're doing books hot and heavy. It's true. There's a lot of stuff coming out. All the current warbands from Shadespire have a war scroll now. It's kind of neat. They do. I'm hoping they do some neater stuff with them. We have a house rule that I'm probably going to start using in the studio, where the only problem I have with the warband war scrolls is some of the units are so small that for certain of the unit types, like the Reavers and the Skeletons, they don't even stay on the table like a turn. Like they just get killed because they're so easy to kill and there's so few of them. And these, what I'd rather that they were is regiments of renown of like the existing regiment types. So the sort of like house rule I think I'm going to have in the studio is if you want to add to make those units bigger, you can just add whatever the unit type is to that unit. So like for instance, the Sepulchral Guard can just add 10 skeletons, paying the normal battle line cost for 10 skeletons. And the unit still won't count as battle line because the regiment's renown, but you could just add 10 more basic skeleton guys to the unit. Same with like the whatchamacallit, the Ard boys for Iron Skull's boys. You can just add more of those. Or the whatchamacallit, the Liberators, Steelheart's Champions. You can just add 5 more Liberators, and you wouldn't get like a prime or anything like that because those guys are all the command models. But you could just make the units beefier, and then they just be like cool regiments renown. Because that's, to me, that's what they are. Is the regiments renown from the old Warhammer rules? Like they're just slightly cooler regiments of Liberators and whatever. And this would just allow them to actually operate as like full Age of Sigmar units, and not just get like blown off the table by like mortal wounds in like one turn. Because literally, if you can just do 6 wounds to unit Liberators, which is not very hard considering that like Steelheart's Champions is only 3 models, they just disappear in one round. And you kind of want them to be cooler than that. So that's my house rule. If you want to bring one of the warbands, you can just add more of whatever the base unit type is for them. So like it'd be skeletons for the Sepulchral Guard. It would be Liberators for Steelheart's Champions, or Ard Boys, or, you know, whatever it is, whatever makes the most sense. Fire Slayers for the new Fire Slayers. I guess it should be like Clan Rats. I think it's just Clan Rats for the new Rat unit. I'm pretty sure that's what they are. Not 100% sure. They look like Clan Rats, so that's what I'm going to call them. Roughly throwing down browns. Torben Gasberg says, the one thing that sold me on the AOS setting was that new Traveler's Guide video that they made recently. I don't even know what that is. Maybe the community guys made that? Was it like a travel brochure for the Mortal Realms? That's cool. Come to the Realm of Death. Stay for the Skeletons. Leave for the Banshees. Whatever it is. Water parks in the Realm of Life. I'm not entirely sure what that video is, but it sounds like it's cool. Grandpa D, Tony pulled a rude move on this guy Fennel, who is cool and accommodating, called end of move phase when he was bringing in Deep Strikers. Technically true, but super lame. Judgment equals rules layer. Oh, that's cool. Okay, well, I don't know what that means, but sounds like that was the important thing. I assume this is talking about whatever the LVO is. I'll look it up later on. I'm not so worried about it at the moment that it's a bee in my bonnet, that it's bothering me. This guy has like a big pad on his hand, and I imagine it's to like go near the bears. It looks like he's like decided to like wrap his hand in like leather to give himself some kind of like a big, I guess like mitt for going near the bears. It's kind of cool actually. It's like a big like, it looks like he like lets them like bite his hand. I think he's got all his fingers. I'm pretty sure trolls only have 3 fingers and a thumb, so maybe he does have all his hands. But he's definitely not going to go touch or go pet those bears without having something on his arm, which is kind of cool. Finishing all this leather off. All of the Northkin tend to have like leather wrapped bear pelts or some kind of pelts on them. Like you don't know that they're bear pelts. I assume they are, which is again why I'm kind of confused. These bears are so friendly with them, because they're clearly wearing bears quite often. But like again, yeah, if I go stage hider or lighter on these guys, and then use a wash to bring it down. It just saves so much time painting everything. All right, so the bears are pretty much done before I want to put a wash on them. So I think I'm gonna go, yeah, they're pretty much done. I could do a little bit of beige, I guess. You know, I'll just do his tongue. I need a little red. I need a little, my base coat for red is Doomble Brown by GW. It's a nice little base for red. They call it a brown, but it's like a very dark burgundy. And it covers phenomenally, this color. It's really cool to cover. Torben says that at the center of each realm, there's less raw magic and less place for civilization. And the further that you go from there, things start to get weird. We're talking about this Traveler's Guide for Age of Sigmar. So I guess like in the middle of each realm is kind of like this stable area, and then the further outside you go, it just starts to turn to raw magic, I imagine. Because the whole idea is that each of these realms is one of the winds of magic from the old Warhammer world. So they're all kind of like themed off of them. That's neat. That's neat that like basically there's like a habitable part of it, and then the further away from the center you get, it just starts to get into like chaotic, weird raw magic. Where, you know, it's raining pudding and stuff like that. Whatever your version of chaos is going to be. So I'm just going to do the insides of the bears' mouths with that, so I can go back with some flesh tones and highlight later on. And then for the trolls themselves, actually, I highlight all the little bumpy rocky bits with this color, because all of the trolls are like slowly turning into rock. And on my trolls, just to have like that contrasting color, I do like a red, a burgundy up to red, up to like a Wild Rider orange. Sort of like a bright red. But this guy's so heavily pelted, there's very few of those bits on him. So that's basically it. So I'll get some beige, because that beige I can use to finish off these guys. And actually, you know what I'm going to do before that? I'm going to grab some dark gray, probably an Eshin gray. No, Scab and Blight Dinge works. Just to paint the paw pads on these guys, the bears. Because some of them are actually standing up. This one's standing up and the paw pads are exposed. And most bears, their paw pads are a dark color, like black or gray, or dark brown. Having seen several bears in real life, and then the claws are usually black, or really dark brown or black. Almost like the color of like a brown beer bottle, but like so dark that like it's almost black at the ends, is what bear claws look like. Again, having been near some real life bears on several points in my life, closer than I would like sometimes. I'll just base coat those now. Grab some just Abaddon black. It's a good black. It covers well and it's cheap. Randy and St. Denis says, Ash, you have to play SFH. Don't feed the bears song at the beginning of battle reports with them. SFH. Don't feed the bears. SFH isn't coming to my head right now. SFH. I don't know what that's an acronym for. I know it's a band, but I'm not SFH. I'm not picking up what band it is. You've trumped me, Randy. I don't know what it is. Turbin says, I really recommend if you're like me, didn't quite get the idea behind the Mortal Realms. I'll have to check it out then. Oh, it's a local Ontario band. Okay, that's why I haven't heard of them. I will look it up on YouTube, Randy. SFH. That sounds good. And apparently the Traveler's Guide to the Realms on the Malign Portents page. If you guys who watch this in the future are interested in checking it out. I will go do that when I'm not currently painting bears. When it is no longer bear o'clock and I'm not unbearably busy. Haha, dad jokes. Alright, claws on this guy. Let's do claws on this guy. We're getting there. We're getting there. And then it's going to be, I'm going to check real fast, see if any of this cast black can go anywhere on Mr. Bear Handler, but I don't think there's anyone that particularly needs that. I think we're pretty safe. Just gonna do all these claws. The back feet are too hairy. There's no exposed claws there. And then I guess this guy, oh, there's a few bear claws actually. Yay, because again, he is wearing a bear cloak. So there's some spots where I can paint bear claws black and call it done. And there's probably just a couple more base coat colors I want to put on this handler before I throw the washes down. And they're probably just beiges. I want to base coat any teeth, like his teeth, the inside of his mouth. I've been doing the insides of all the trolls' mouths purple, just to give them like a different kind of like skin tone, you know what I mean? Because not humans. So I'm not using like a rose color, like a pink. I'm using like a purple, because they're blue, you know what I mean? So I figure a blue tinted pink is purple. Let's try that out. Torben says, one day, Ash, it would be really cool if you could make a video of how you generally paint miniatures. The speed with which you paint them is kind of phenomenal, so I'm looking for all your tricks. I've explained this before, and I think it would be really hard for me to teach people to paint the way I paint, because the reason I paint fast has absolutely nothing to do with tricks. I mean, I do use a lot of tricks to save time, but it's experience. It's the fact that I don't hesitate and I don't think about how I'm doing things. I just start painting. And that's, I think, why it would be hard for me to make a paint video that anybody would get anything from, because it's more the fact that I've been painting miniatures for 30 years that makes me fast, not any one trick that I do. Like if you can pick up all the same tricks I use off of a million different other YouTube people. Like everybody, I would say most people know the tricks that I use. It's more a matter of how many do I know and how comfortable am I with them, and how does my collection of like paints and stuff just mean that I'm gonna use some Zamesi Desert. Zamesi Desert? Zamesi Desert. This is my base coat for bones and teeth and fingernails and stuff for the trolls. And for the bears too, because their teeth won't be black, their teeth will be this like browny color. This actually too is a really good color to mix into purple. If you want a purple highlight that's really natural, is I use yellows in my purples to highlight them so they look dusty. And we'll just base coat all the teeth on these bears, which again will be super quick. And you see this guy's mostly done, like his base coats are all finished. It's just a matter of like throwing the washes down, letting them dry. I think your mouth's open too. Yep, Mr. Bear's mouth is open. Mr. Bear's gonna get his teeth painted yellow. And this is one trick, I guess, Torben, that you could learn is just do all your base coats and then wash everything. I mean, that is one thing I do. Is instead of, and I did miss a strap on his nose, I just realized. Good thing there's still some brown wet on this palette, that's good. This whole trick of like just base coating everything and then using washes to darken and get the colors transition together is a time saver, right? Like it means that I'm basically doing all my base coats at once. I'm doing a stage of low lighting basically instead of highlighting by throwing a wash on it, and then I come back and just pick out like the edges of everything. So it saves a bunch of time in the process because I'm using washes to cheat a stage of highlights away. All right, and then fingernails and teeth for Mr. Troll Guy, Mr. Le Troll Guy. And that means tonight I can focus on the stone. And I don't actually have to paint all 6 members of the stone. I'm going to, because then I don't, because if I don't paint a max unit of something in War Machine, I will never be excited to come back and paint the rest of them. I've discovered that about myself because I've got 4 members of Boomhowler's Trollkin that I am probably never going to paint. I have a 6-man unit of them, which is the min size one, and I've had the other 4 for like years and just never bothered to paint them. Because I'm not like encouraged to finish. Once I'm excited about a unit, I'm finished a unit, I'm not excited to come back to it. That's why I hate painting more than one of a unit too. It's why I hate spam in miniature games. So I'm painting the same unit over and over again. I'm just like, no. I'm no longer excited about you. Please stop being you. And the last thing I do before the washes, I'm gonna throw down some beige on all the little like, I don't even want to call them stitches. Like anything that's like stitched together on this guy, I'm just gonna paint the stitches beige, because then when I wash it brown, it's gonna basically highlight those for me and I never have to look at them again. Because I'm pretty sure this guy's got like a patch on his knee. He's got, where's more stitches? Patch on this knee, and then this like glove, this like baseball mitt he's wearing to like hang with his bear friends. They don't eat him, is like covered in stitches. It's all like stitched together, which is gonna give it a little more detail than just being painted brown, because right now it's just all painted brown. Because all the edges are stitched like a catcher's mitt. Yeah, this is clearly the thing he wears to like keep the bears from eating his hands when he goes to like feed them or pet them or whatever. Although again, like these bears, I don't know how cool I'd be if like, imagine you're like you and then you live in a cage all day and then occasionally a guy wearing the skin of one of your friends comes over and tries to like feed you or talk to you. I would not be cool with that. Although I guess they're bears, so they're dumb. You know, they're not the smartest. And I say this with all love of bears. They're lovely animals, but they smell like garbage and eat garbage and aren't particularly smart. They're smarter than cows, but that's not saying much. I think that's it. I think I got all the stitching. Oh, I forgot to get the teeth on this guy. I forgot he does have a bear on his head. And that bird does have teeth. So we'll paint those yellow. I do use having a palette in front of me to save time too, because like, you still have colors that are wet. If you forget a spot, you just come back to it. A little bit more. There's a couple spots in like metallics here I could touch up, and then I think I'm done. Anthony says again, that reminder that Ash has some more years of painting experience than some of the years of life. That's humbling. I guess, yeah. It's funny because I just put up a picture of like a miniature game, miniature board game, made by Games Workshop in 1986. And I realized that it was still in the packaging. I realized it was still in the packaging for no one had played with this game for 32 years. And that's a long time. Like to be a game 32 years old and not have been opened. And then, yes, some of the people that probably shared or laughed at that had probably not been alive as long as that thing had been in a shrink wrap. It's a bit crazy. And then the only other thing I need to do with these guys before I put the wash down is I just realized, are you the color I'm looking for? No, you're not finished gray. Or the fang is what I'm actually looking for. Is I need to paint this guy's arms. Because again, I didn't do the airbrush, the spot airbrushing on his arms because the cloak was there and I didn't want to get a whole bunch of like blue gray on his body. Was just roughing them out really. Oh, it's Cantor blue. Again, the light's not great in here and I just thought I was grabbing the fang and I was grabbing Cantor blue. I just grabbed Dark Reaper for the same reason. There we go, I found it. It's right here. How are we doing for time? 1:30. We're not doing too bad. Try and go for another half hour. Torben says, cool, me and a buddy's getting some cars converted, painting, and having a couple of games soon of Gaslands. So having a great time watching Gaslands and getting into myself. What else on the horizon for GMG? Anything new that you're excited for, can talk about and possibly show? Well, I mean, I show things I want, like that I can show. There's some things I'm excited about that I can't really talk about. Just games that are like coming up and things that are cool in the future. Yeah, you guys know about most of the things I'm pretty jazzed for. There's a game called Kobolds and Cobblestones, a new indie game by Osprey I want to give a try. Jay, everybody's fan favorite Jay, who has been busy with work because it's Christmas and he worked in the toy industry. Is going to be back relatively soon. He was in last week for some games and we filmed some Gaslands. And he's going to come in for a few days actually. He's got some time off coming up. And we're going to film a bunch of Dracula's America and just like bits and pieces like that. I'm trying to think, like, well, you guys know most of the things I'm excited about. I'm excited for Adepticon. Giving demos the last days will be cool. Yeah, I can't think of much else. Like, you guys know about most of the stuff I'm excited about. So now this almost empty pot of Agrax Earthshade is almost empty. And I cut it with some water, so it's not super dark. You shouldn't cut Agrax Earthshade with water unless you want it to stain a little bit, but I'm kind of okay with that. Got my old heavy metal paintbrush set case that I use for keeping my brushes in. Super handy. I used it a lot when I was traveling, so I'd be flying around. And this super beat up base coat brush is the one I was talking about earlier. It's like, it's mangled. I don't even know if they make them like this anymore, the colored ends, I can't remember. I think they don't, but anyway, I got a little bit of paint wash left in this. I'm gonna use it to throw some wash down on all of the straps and stuff on Yon Bears, and I'm not gonna worry too much if it runs. I can run a little bit and I'll touch it up again later into the fur. But what this is gonna do is it's gonna give some separation between the colors. And again, I'm gonna dab it a little bit onto the armor plates, but not to put too much of it on here. Just little bits and pieces, because I'm gonna throw some of that nickelite oxide on top of it afterwards. So this is just really to again create color separation. So I'm really gonna focus on putting it like near the spikes to make the spikes stand out, because the spikes are all in black metal. Scandinavian black metal, I guess. Troll black metal. What's that Finnish band called? Fin Troll? The Finnish Guar. If you guys ever want to listen to some troll themed rock music, go check out Fin Troll. My buddy Owen loved Fin Troll. He used to try and get me into Fin Troll. And I wasn't not into Fin Troll, but I wasn't like a diehard Fin Troll fan. I was aware of Fin Troll, and they made me laugh. But if I had to choose between a Guar concert and a Fin Troll concert, I'd probably still go see Guar. And yeah, this will just get us a little bit of separation on these colors. So when this all dries, it'll be a bit more sort of like blocked out. What else we have? Anthony Lee says the most recent video for Gaslands on Owen's channel was straight up hilarity from start to finish. Yeah, well, the problem with Owen and I is that when we start playing something and talking about like what's best or whatever, because like Owen and I'll sit down for like a day and like play a couple games of something, but our conversations always inevitably veer towards like what would be the most ridiculous. And so it started off being like, well, how fast can you just like get to like slamming into other cars? And it just turned into like the hot start, like Destructo Derby. And that's what you saw in that game, was both of us just being like, well, whatever. I'm just gonna start ramming your cars like literally from like the start signal going off and watch this happen. But yeah, no, I mean, it was fun. It clearly wasn't smart playing, but it was hilarious playing. And we had a good time doing it. We built a lot of silly cars, and there will be more silly cars in the future. So there you guys, you can see that's the wash down on him. So it's not the worst thing ever. Tarbin says, will there be any videos of last days from Adepticon? No, I'm not going to shoot any videos of Adepticon because the quality of video that you shoot at a convention is garbage. Like, there's so much ambient noise. Like, unless you go to your hotel room and do it, you're gonna see like selfies, and I'm gonna spend my time with people at Adepticon, because like making videos at Adepticon, there's gonna be 1,000 million other people doing it first of all, and they're there to do that. So like, I'm sure like Beasts of War will be wandering around with cameras, like putting cameras in everybody's face. I'd rather spend time with those people and like chat with them and get to know them than like shove another camera in their face and you know, do that. So when I'm at Adepticon, I usually just spend time with all the people I only get to see like once a year when I go, because it's really the only convention I'm really interested in going to, rather than being like, hey, let's do an interview. Can I get some time to talk about blah? I'd rather actually just sit down and like talk to them and be like, hey man, let's hang out. And I mean, now that I've been especially like sort of like chatting with like game designers and stuff online, I've got some friends that are game designers, it's I think a bit more fun to have sort of a break from that part of Adepticon when we hang out. So I'd rather do it that way. So yeah, so like shooting videos of that there, the quality wouldn't be great, so I wouldn't want to do it. Whereas the last days videos I do shoot, I'll shoot like in the studio with like really nice terrain and you know, like a bunch of people you know playing it. You know, I'm sure Jay will be playing it, Owen will be playing it, maybe Mike from Susan will be playing it. More a matter of like, let's get you the best quality video we can for this, so you guys can see what it's really like. Whereas Adepticon, I'll just be like playing it with people as opposed to throwing it down. So you can see down to Mr. Trollman. I'm just gonna throw some of this on here, and again the brown will just kind of like separate all of the stuff out so that it looks a little more, I guess, like delineated from the other colors around it. All these little leather straps, puts a little brown in between them. Put a little in the axe head there. I don't tend to, it's funny because with the black metal by Scale 75, I don't tend to do much washes on it because it's so dark already. I really just highlight it when I'm done. And some wash on all the leather bits here. Like, I'm not putting wash on everything, I'm just highlighting the bits that, or washing the bits that I want to kind of smooth down and separate. So I'll put it on the skin. I'll put it wherever there's a bit of brown, and all the leather bits that are light brown right now. And that'll kind of smooth out all the bits of extra dry brushing that hit it and stuff. And then get some on his face. We are down to the dregs here. I just want this pot to survive through the last unit that I'm painting, because it means they'll all be the same consistency. It means that all the things that I paint with this one pot of wash will all have the same basically like tone of wash on them, and I won't have to worry about trying to match it later on, because I'm not going to get the same mix, because it's a half empty pot that I basically thin with water, and I'll have to do a bunch of experimenting to get it right, and I'm too lazy to do that really. All right, so here we go. All the washes are down. I'm gonna grab some Nicolite oxide, and I'm gonna throw these guys down, and I'll be done, and I'll catch up with the chat. The most recent video on Owen's channel was straight up, oh, this is still a thing. Anthony Lee, the GMG bump is real though. I tried to order the Gaslands peripherals after watching Let's Play, and the store is completely out of stock. Yeah, I do a thing now, so I'm always curious if like a Let's Play helps a small game like that or a company out. So the thing I do now is I tend to, I can't measure that myself. I mean, like, I don't really know how. So what I'll do is I'll go and I'll look at their social media usually before I post the video and then after I post the video. So I looked at the Gaslands group. I had about 1,000 people in it the day I posted the video. And today it has like, and that was last week on Tuesday. So it was like 7 days ago, 6.5, 7 days ago. And then when I checked it this morning, I think it has like 1,400 in it. So like that seems to have, I guess, helped at least raise awareness. And that's me. I won't say that's all me, you know what I mean? But like having videos in circulation between mine and Owen's and stuff hopefully helped generate a little more extra traffic. Oh, I think the boy's here. I hear a little bit of banging and him saying I can't get into my room. So I'm gonna put a little bit of verdigris on these guys and then I'm gonna go check on the boy and make sure he's okay. And I think we'll wrap up. So again, I just use the end of a brush like this and I just kind of stipple it into the recesses. You don't want it everywhere because like it wouldn't have sort of, I think the term for verdigris is bloomed. It wouldn't have bloomed everywhere. It just kind of blooms where water collects and stuff like that. And so I'm just kind of dabbing it on because it is fairly matte, this stuff, when it dries. Not too liberally. So wherever water would pool and be in a recess. And if it mixes a little bit with any of the brown wash, I'm actually okay with that because it just kind of like darkens it down and finishes it off. And so that guy's pretty much done. I'm gonna turn around so you can see. Just a little bit of like verdigris on those areas, and that'll all smooth out as it dries too, because the wash will collapse. The fact that it's all suspended in water means that it collapses into a transparency around the edge while it dries. And the same thing. So you can see I'm not actually like with this stuff, I'm more stippling it on than I am trying to brush it on, and that means that I can kind of push it towards where I want it to sit on the plate. And then this guy, we're gonna do the same thing. And there's not nearly as much bronze. It's so fast, like I'm not even really looking at what I'm doing. I'm just going to the edges of everything and pushing it around. Because I'll be honest, the more you try and make it perfect, the less perfect it looks. Trying to make random patterns is an exercise in futility. You have to just make random patterns. The only way to do that is just to kind of like I said, YOLO it and stab with brush, because you can always clean it up later. The same thing with this. I'm just going to kind of like push it into the, oh, I went too heavy there. Move that around, share some of that with the other ones. And we call jobs a good one. I think that's just about it. There's a little bit on his belt, little belt buckles and stuff on him, but then he's done. And if there's too much, we'll just go back with a semi-dry brush and like mop some of it up. Because the capillary action of a brush, you can pick up wash with it, because it's designed to try and hold liquid and suck it up the bristles into the reservoir of the brush. A little brush theory for you. And then what was the last thing I said I was gonna do? I was gonna put some thin down dryad bark on these bases. And I have a bigger brush I wanna use? No, I'm just gonna use this one. This brush is in my hand and therefore it is the brush I will use. Minis look great. Somebody said, my logic when painting is playing it simple, do the smart thing or the orc thing. Sometimes the orc thing is the smart thing. In new 40K, taking lots of guys and just flooding the table is actually the smart thing, because they're very hard to remove and most armies can't remove them. And so what I do is I add about probably 2 parts water to 1 part paint when I do this, and then I just, because it's all on sand, I just let the paint or the water carry the paint into the stuff. The grit that's on here, I like dryad bark for ground base coats because it's very like neutral brown gray. It's a good dirt color or a bark color. I mean, no ragging on dryads. Some of my best friends are dryads. But yeah, the water really helps to make this go fast because the sand just sort of drinks it in. There we go. That's a nice neutral, really nice neutral brown. And again, it's GW, so it is actually relatively cheap. A lot of people complain about the cost of like paints, but if you're talking about actual like model paints with a fine pigment grind, not paints you get from Walmart, I don't even count that argument. Well, you could just go get craft paints from Walmart. Yes, or I could just paint them with my kids' like paints, but the pigment grind in that is such that I am just literally putting spackle on my miniatures. Why would I do this? GW paints are still really economically priced compared to most paints. Army paint is pretty good, but I like GW paints, and they're comfy. They're very reliable as far as like their coverage and how they work. All right, get these down here. Anthony says, I love the Gaslands look. It captures that balance between risk-taking and recklessness. It's true, and sometimes it pays off. Yep. We got a few of the core mechanics wrong with that video. And of course, you the patrons, you got a bonus video to that because there was one video I didn't really want to put up. It was the follow-up video to Let's Play because we got one of the core mechanics pretty wrong. But every video since then, with the exception of like 1 or 2 things that are like pretty minor, we've gotten the rules down. And once you get the rules down, you can some real hilarity takes place. Some super silliness. All right, so those guys, their bases are all done. And that means that like when it comes time to actually dry brush those bases, they've had a good long time to dry. And what's nice about doing a wash of paint like this over top, it means that the sand and stuff on the base is sealed from the top and the bottom. And it's just concrete afterwards. I will have to wipe this palette off though before I put it away because it's gonna have a big pool of semi-dried, dried bark in it. There we go. And done. We did it. Yay! We managed to get through and get base coats done on those guys in an hour. And that means tonight when I go to actually paint them, they'll be all finished. All super done. Well, not finished. They'll be all dry basically, so I can just go and like pound highlights on them and be finished. So that was good. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We got some stuff painted. We talked about painting. You got to see me paint in the most ghetto fashion ever. Tell me, if you guys in the future that aren't my patrons, tell me what you thought of that and how terrible it was. I can't actually see how it's recording because I'm literally just bending down my laptop cover to like 45 degrees to be able to see it. So it was neat to do. I mean, I do often paint when I do these things, but you guys can't normally see it. It was a little more intensive than doing my normal painting thing. So like, I feel like I wasn't able to talk to you guys as well. I couldn't see the chat and I couldn't do my questionnaires as well. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. The boy is banging on his door and saying, let me out. I want to be done my nap. And we're over an hour in, so we're pretty much a good point to stop now. So anyway, big thanks to you patrons for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. I will do my research on all the things that I said I would, like that band, the Ontario band, as well as I guess whatever drama's going on in the LVO, and I have no idea. Yeah, and for you guys in the future watching this on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed it too. You can jump on the mailbag and link below in the description and get in a question for next time. And let me know what you thought about my ghetto painting video. So we'll see you for more in the future. Big thanks to Privateer Press for sending along these Northkin models. And again, to Stephen Kemp for the other Trollbloods I'll be painting going forward in the future. Until next time, I'm Ash. Have a good one.